Many people use earnings claims to make an investment decision. You can do that, or you can do this. I know that a video with the name earnings claim on my YouTube channel is going to get a lot of hits. There are laws around how franchisors make earnings claims. I am not a franchise attorney, so I am not going to make a technical video about earnings claims, but I am an experienced franchise consultant who has helped thousands of people explore franchise opportunities. And I am going to teach you what to do with an earnings claim, and it is not to make an investment decision because of an earnings claim. So let's go back to the origin of an earnings claim. In the 1970s, the federal government stepped in and started regulating franchisors and what they had to disclose to you, the potential investor. This regulation resulted in franchisors creating what was then called a Uniform Franchise Offering Circular, or a UFOC, that today, in 2022, is called a franchise disclosure document. There are 23 sections in a franchise disclosure document. For the purposes of this video, we are going to focus on item 19, which is the earnings claim section. So item 19 is the only optional section in an FDD. The government does not require a franchisor to tell you how much money you can make in a business. The Daly Coach is here to tell you that even if the franchisor makes an earnings claim in writing, I do not believe that you should use the earnings claim to make an investment decision. What do numbers on a page tell you about an opportunity? Yes, they tell you an average earnings, but is anybody who is setting out to own a business planning to be average? Not anybody that I've ever met, but yet so many people will use an earnings claim as a reason to walk away from an investment opportunity. When you're reading an earnings claim, these are numbers on a page. And until or unless you're willing to bring those numbers to life by understanding what it takes to create those numbers on the page, how can you fairly assess the numbers? Earnings claims can wow candidates if the numbers look good and get people super excited that this could be the opportunity for them. But what if the primary skill that's necessary to drive those numbers is a skill that you don't have? What if owners are working 100 hours a week to create those amazing numbers on a page and you have quality of life goals? Until you're able to talk to franchise owners who can explain to you what a day in the life looks like, who can explain to you what skills they have that enable them to create those numbers on a page, how can you fairly assess what the earnings claim is saying to you? On the flip side of that, an earnings claim can sometimes appear underwhelming. There are some franchisors that I regularly work with. When you look at their item 19, people are like, why would I ever put all of that money into that business to make that kind of money? And I'm like, hey, you got to go out and you got to interview some of their franchise owners. Because I know that when they interview the owner, the average owner in that particular franchise has a full-time job and on average owns 6 stores. So when you're looking at that earnings claim, you got to multiply that by 6. And when you're talking to the owner who is a full-time employee in corporate America, who will then validate to you that they're only putting in maybe 10 hours a week to manage one manager, and they're making 6 times what that earnings claim says, well, then that story becomes more exciting. So reading an earnings claim on paper is one thing, but it is not the only thing. And in my opinion, it's really nothing to how you should assess the earnings potential of a franchise. I'm infinitely more interested in getting you out, talking to owners, again, about a day in the life, what skills they have, what do they do that drives the greatest result in their business, and then making that connection between the skills that you have, the time that you want to put into the business, and then assessing for yourself if you believe that you can create those numbers on a page. The other thing about earnings claims that I really don't like is that earnings claims can set up a limiting belief about what's possible, because people take that number at face value and they believe that that's all that's possible. But since an owner is the biggest determining factor in the success of a franchise business, how can an earnings claim tell you how much money you are going to make? It can't tell you. It can tell on average, with the systems and the tools and the training and the support, what the average person can produce. But like I said in the beginning, are you investing in this business to be average? So please don't let an earnings claim set this limiting belief about what's possible. These are only numbers on a page. They don't have to be your numbers. Now, earlier, I said that an earnings claim is optional. So why wouldn't a franchisor make an earnings claim? Some candidates get really aggravated when there is not an earnings claim that they can turn to. Well, the first reason is because by law, in order to make an earnings claim, you have to have stores that have been open for 2 or more years. So if you are exploring a pioneering franchise, they might not have enough history in order to create that earnings claim on paper. A bigger reason why a franchisor may not have an earnings claim is because they simply cannot make an average claim. Think of a business like a real estate agent. You may know a real estate agent that sells 10 homes a year. I may know a real estate agent that sells 10 homes a month. What's the difference? The agent, his or her skill, their drive, the size of their goals, their network, all of those factors will determine their ability to sell a home. So they both could be franchisees with Keller Williams, but they could produce 2 totally different and very drastic financial results. So in that scenario, how would a franchisor make an average earnings claim? Are they to take out the low and the high and then say this is average? No, because from one year to the next, this person who was barely doing $100,000 one year could get serious and focused and the next year do $1 million. Now, I may be exaggerating the numbers to make the point, but hopefully you're understanding the point. There are some franchise businesses that are so owner influenced that it's the owner's network, skill, relationships, the size of their goals, their energy level, how driven they are, their tenacity to get out there every day and go make it happen that will determine the size of their business. And from year to year, that may change. And so there's no way that a franchisor can really make an average earnings claim. So if you are looking at a franchise that doesn't have an earnings claim, it is not the end of the world. It is not because the franchisor is trying to rip you off or trying to hide facts from you. There are legit reasons why they may not be making an earnings claim. If you're asking the question to yourself, why don't they make an earnings claim? Simply ask the franchisor, why don't you make an earnings claim? And if it's not acceptable to you that they don't make an earnings claim, pass on that opportunity. Go find a franchise that does make an earnings claim. But as an experienced franchise consultant, the most important thing I want you to hear me say in this entire video is, please do not use the earnings claim as the sole reason for why you're saying yes to that particular franchise. Please use the validation from the existing franchise owners. Understand what they're waking up and doing every day, how much time it takes, what skill they feel they possess that enables them to be successful. Find the top performing people in a franchise, the people who are probably blowing that earnings claim out of the water. Build your sales plan and your idea about what you want to accomplish in your business through those people. Because a business is a living, breathing, dynamic thing, these numbers on a page are going to change year by year by year. I see earnings claims going up every single year. So the numbers that you're looking at when you're exploring a franchise, these are a snapshot of the past and they are a moment in time. You are investing in the franchise for where it's going. You are going to be a co-creator in building that franchise brand and taking that earnings claim to the next level and the next level and the next level. So what's most important about saying yes to a franchise business is that you are aligning yourself with a franchisor partner that you believe in and that you respect, that you buy into their vision, and that you feel with the tools that they've created and the mentorship that they can offer you, that you can take this business and go make something of it. Because the earnings claim that they're making today probably isn't going to be the earnings claim that they're making 1 year from now or 2 years from now. And you, if you decide to become a business owner, are going to be a reason that that earnings claim continues to go up. If you have more questions about how to use an earnings claim, or more importantly, a franchise disclosure document to help you make a solid investment decision, I want to be your daily coach. Please leave a comment below or reach directly out via the email on the screen, and someone from my team will be in contact with you right away so that we can schedule an introductory call. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and then ring that notification bell.